All right, what is going on, guys? My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler, and today we're bringing out my Axial Bomber 2.0. I've added a light bar to the front of it, but it comes with the light bars on the nose and the front tire section there, as well as the rear trailing light bar. I've added a couple LEDs into there as well. But yeah, let's talk about the Bomber in today's episode of This Car Week. Got it in second gear. And as you can tell, this Bomber is no slouch. It rips around here pretty good. I've had a set of paddles on it before. I can't quite get it to power wheelie, but the tires will balloon while I'm out there ripping around on the trails. Today we're going to more focus on rock crawling, and then we're also going to talk about all the details on the Axial Bomber 2.0. So one of the most important details to know about this car is that it actually has a 2-speed transmission. So if I want, I can have wheel speed, or we can grab first gear and we can go and creepy crawl it around with a nice, slow controlled censored brushless system. The brushless system that is in this car right now, which has changed like 3 times, it's currently an Axial, not an Axial, it is currently a Hobbywing Axe 3300 kV with a 550 can. So big boy motor in here, lots of wheel speed, got a decent sized pinion, I think 14 tooth, I think. But yeah, so this thing certainly has low speed crawlability as well as top end in second gear to go rip it around and blast up some dirt. Having a good time. Now, these are the stock wheels and tires with the 2.0. The Axial 2.0 Bomber came with the KR3s instead of the KR2s as it previously came with. I had a set of Goodyear Wrangler MTRs with RC 4-wheel drive raceline wheels on this, and the tires had some pretty bad rips in the sidewall from some high-speed bombing that I was bumping into rocks and whatnot. So I ended up swapping them back to the stock ones for a little bit. However, you will likely see aftermarket tires back on this car in the not too distant future. So one of the most common things I will hear when I pull out my Axial Bomber to go crawl around is that people want to buy another one because they've had them already and sold them because they wanted to move on to something new. But they're getting back around to the point where like people are getting nostalgic for them. Now they're currently still available, but this is an aging platform from Axial. So I would suggest grabbing a Bomber while you can. I don't think they're going to be around forever. Although this last year they did that cool limited edition King of Hammers Bomber with all the Kings of the Hammers names on them and each year that each guy won. I'm trying to crawl this, but it's a tough one. It's got a bit of a corner to this crack, so I should probably try and run my driver tire a little higher than I normally would to keep that rear tire where I kind of want it. But I can't go too far because I don't want to dip the back right into the crack. Pretty sweet little canyon here. This is one of my favorite obstacles out here. Oh buddy, hold on to it. There we go, bring it back. Got that sway bar limiting my suspension articulation. But these cars have trailing arms, and man, you definitely need a sway bar with a setup like that. Because it still has plenty of articulation, like you're over a tire right there. Without them, these things have like 6 inches, 6.5 inches of flex. It's pretty wild, which doesn't really help. There is a limit on how much flex you can have, and if you don't have a sway bar on these cars, they just torque twist like crazy. But this one stays flat and planted. Now, when people mention that they want to get their first rock crawler and then they mention something like a Wraith or a Bomber, I like the trucks, I just don't think they're the greatest crawlers. You gotta have a nice system in them to get the slow controlled wheel speed. And then they don't have the greatest steering angle, they don't have the greatest clearance. But if you love the look, I can't argue that, man. These things look really cool, same with the Wraith. But they're not the greatest crawlers. I'll tell you what though, once you get used to a standard 1/10 RC car, something like an SCX 10.2, an Element, whatever, and then you drive a Bomber with its wider footprint and its longer wheelbase, these things can handle some pretty wicked obstacles that the 1/10 stuff just really can't hang with. So the Bomber has what Axial calls their AR60 line. These are what would basically be the equivalent to a 1-ton axle in the RC world. They're very tough. I've got the universal joints in the front of mine. I was really disappointed when I found out the 2.0 didn't come with universals in the front end. Had the cup and ball, constant velocity, whatever they call it. Not a great setup from the box stock. I highly recommend getting some universal shafts put on these as soon as you can. But you can see here, got the 2.2 tires fighting for traction. Apparently we're gonna need some more wheel speed than that, which don't worry guys, we've got it. So let's get her lined up, grab second gear, and hopefully we don't just wreck ourselves on our approach here. Well, we made it up and then we shot way over there. Now typically in most of my crawlers I like to have dual stage foams. However, with the Bomber I prefer a single stage because I want the tires to act more like a pillow if they're coming in contact with something on a hard hit. So having the single stage just makes them big, soft tires, helps absorb impacts, and helps stop parts breakages. At least in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. I think it's pretty sound logic. You guys will have to let me know. If you're running a fast car, do you want a big soft tire or do you want one with a hard, dense ring in the middle that limits how soft your tires are? Here we go. Really cool line. I was trying to stay up on that wall. But luckily this cage is going to let us just sneak on out of here and get things done with the Bomber. Now I definitely need to send thanks to Sky RC Hobby Shop down here in St. George, Utah, as well as Axial for this car. Both of those companies really helped make this car possible. There's a lot of little upgrades on here that you may or may not notice. It looks a lot like a stock Bomber, but truthfully it's got a lot of upgrades in it. One of the biggest, most important upgrades we got on here is our Vanquish, or I guess Incision link set, which is the stainless steel link set. Way stronger. The plastic links on these cars just aren't worth driving. We're not going to make this turn. Other things you might not notice is the aluminum servo mount on there, old school Axial product. You got the aluminum knuckles, old school Axial product. We've got these trailing arm side plates that are a reinforcement plate that are on the stock plastic trailing arms, but they just add strength to it. I also changed out all the shocks to 4 King shocks, and then we've got one Axial, who else? What's the brand name on it? Icon Dynamics shocks. So I'm running quad shocks in the rear, which I need to go do some like slow motion footage of it and actually tune these things. 2 of the rear shocks have fluid in them, which are the longer ones in the rear. I think those are like 120 mil shocks. They're pretty big. And then the fronts are actually, they don't have any fluid. They just have the spring on there and a couple drops of oil just to keep things lubricated and moving nice. I had all 4 filled and it was just like solid when it would hit stuff. So I also took the Proline head and tail light kit. It's just like 4 little, what are they, 3mm LEDs, 4mm LEDs. And I just took a real basic LED set and I completed out the front light set, because from the box, the front light bar has 4 ports for LEDs, but Axial only puts 2 of them in the front light bar, and then they put the other 2 in the little pods. So basically I filled up the entire light bar, and then also on the rear chase bar, I put an extra 2 LEDs in there, which were on the outers. The stock Axial one, again, came with 2 out of 4 lights, so I just kind of finished out the car and put LEDs everywhere the LEDs could go. And then I added a cheap Amazon light bar, which is good that it's cheap because I beat the hell out of this thing and it's broken multiple times. So we're gonna climb this one more time because got kicked off of it. I also did my own custom paint job, but I used a sticker sheet from a Bomber kit and was able to make it look like a Bomber, but now it's red, white, and blue. There we go, conquered that one. Now I talked about the sway bar earlier, but I didn't really mention what brand it was. That is a Vanquish Curry Enterprises sway bar on this car. Lifting the tire, probably due to the sway bar. And yeah, the sway bar is absolutely one of my most highly recommended upgrades for the car. It'll make a huge difference in how these things perform and drive. If you want to go fast at all, get a sway bar. It's mandatory. Before you get your go fast system, get the sway bar. Or the same time. I don't know you. I don't know your life. maybe you really like to party. As for the front servo on this thing, it's one of my favorites, Savix 1212 servo, high torque, strong, and the Bomber will chew up and kill servos if you don't put a good one in it. So my recommendation there is put a good servo in it. And unfortunately, servos, you really get what you pay for. If you cheap out, you're gonna get cheap performance. One other upgrade that's invisible that you can't tell is going on is I've actually got an underdrive gear set in here. So this car is running just a touch of overdrive, I think around 10% from the differential. Back up and get our tire over there. Ooh, that's a good way to break something. One other old school aluminum axial upgrade we have is actually the link mount on the axle where the shock and links come together. Those are aluminum. This is a pretty wicked climb for this car. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Maybe if we get our tires squared up over here, that ain't gonna work either. Maybe if we just grab a fistful of throttle, it'll get lucky. Hey, that wasn't as bad as it could have gone. Maybe we could go Randy Slauson style, throw a car under the tires, and we can drive over the car and make it up the obstacle. If you're on the course, you're part of the course. We're now part of the course. So what's funny is most of the time when I build a 1/10 truck, I get kind of hyper-focused on high performance and overdrives and all this crazy stuff and 900 ounce-inch servos. So I don't really have a trail truck. This is kind of the closest thing I have to a trail truck. It's definitely great for it because it's got some wheel speed, so if I'm just hiking along, I can outrun myself with the car. Ooh, that was a good line right there. So, and then I also have the ability of putting it down in first gear and just creeping along and, you know, kind of finessing obstacles if I want. Dip a tire down in here, nice and slow and controlled. And then do burnouts and donuts and do hoonigan dumb stuff, you know? It's a good car. It's really fun to just kind of all around bash, blast, rock crawl, do King of Hammer shit. So that would be my recommendation. Get yourself a good brushless system, good censored brushless. Get yourself a sway bar, get yourself a good servo. Those three things will make your Bomber really tear it up out here, and I think you'll have a good time out on the trails. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the update on the Axial Bomber out here on my car week. Really, I purchased this one kind of for me. Like, I really just wanted to own one of these cars. I think they're definitely one you got to have in the stable. I mainly focus on mostly crawling content, and this car isn't the greatest crawler out there. It does pretty good. I really like and enjoy the car, but I didn't really buy this so much for video content as much as I did just being able to say I have one, which I suggest that you should have one too, because they are really fun cars. It's not that I won't use it, it's just that typically if I'm going fast, it's hard to film. And that's what I like to do with this car, is go drive it like a total jackass. And it's really good for doing that. Another thing on these, kind of expect to break them every time you take them out, or at least I do, because I drive it like a total jackass. I can get this line. Man, this is 2 lines in a row where it's just not wanting me to get it. Ah! All right, guys, we're gonna finish this one out with this obstacle. So, my name's Logan with West Desert Wheeler. I greatly appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit the affiliate links down below, or pick up a West Desert Wheeler t-shirt or mug or whatever. Grab some merch, available in a link below as well. Drop a comment what your thoughts are on the Axial Bomber, if you've had one before, if you need another one, or if you never let yours go, because you're smart, unlike me. Let's see if we can force it through here. Let's take a quick reset. Here we go. Come on, Bomber, we gotta make the last obstacle. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the car week. We'll see you guys in the next one. Who knows what vehicle is next? I don't know. I'm not even done filming these yet. Keep the rubber side down.